Hey everyone, back in the studio at last with myself, Chris Wall, and Ricky. How we doing, mate?
I'm good.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but we've got lots to catch up on.
Yep. First of all, starting with your voice.
Yes, obviously, being an Arsenal fan, I've had a lot of shouting recently. Some good, some bad.
Last night in particular.
Yeah, but every dog has its day, Ricky, and I wanted your dog to win something. So, we thought we would vacate the European competition so that you could have that's the type of team
that was
we are.
pretty much the vibe on TalkSport last night. So, very happy fans to be out of a competition.
Yeah,
superb.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about that.
That's what it's all about, mate. Try being an Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment. We always say, like, literally, it's like a 24/7 business production of the magazine, Koi Wholesale, everything about the koi world. There's never a quiet moment. So we haven't been in the studio for a little while for one thing and another. So it's good to get back in here.
Yeah.
And we're going to get our teeth into a subject that is a tad contentious. Lots of opinion on it. Some good, some bad, some uneducated, some educated. That subject matter being Unsexed Tosai. Obviously, I know it's something that you've put your money where your mouth is, you've invested in it, you've been there, you've done it, you got the t-shirt. So to expand on the subject and maybe shed some light on matters in hand.
Some consumer awareness, mate.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So where do we start with this subject?
I think it's probably looking at what's happening, the shift that's happened. I think pre-COVID, most things were sold as female guarantee. This was a big thing that added a lot of value. But I think breeders slowly realised that good breeders and fish at a certain size, they could get it accurate to probably 70%, I would say. So there's always that 30% slip up. So 30 out of every 100 fish, they're getting it wrong at. And then that leaves them in a predicament where they're either refunding or replacing based on the terms they've agreed to up front. So although they're getting that fish price up front, and it would add a massive tax onto fish with that guarantee, saw that countless times. I'm not sure they were happy. Obviously, the whole replacement system then, it becomes a bit of a farce, because I think you're in a position where it comes to replacements, which is where a lot of it's at. Narita Koi Farm they generally offer a refund, which I think is a cleaner way to do it.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to a replacement, I think we find that the fish getting offered up will never be the same as the fish the owner lost, so to speak, because it just never works like that. And obviously breeders all of a sudden then are seeing all their different results and sort of adding up all the differences there. And yeah, I think at times they'll try and get away with it a little bit as well. So the fish put forward, it just doesn't often marry up, or ends in a situation where the customer ends up putting in more money to make it work for them, which becomes an expensive process.
I think it's I've done it where I've offered up superior fish than the ones that have perhaps been lost or not turned out the way they should have done. And even knowing that they're superior fish, that negative connotation that the customer's already had, they've had a negative experience.
Yep.
That excitement of getting that fish and that dream, it doesn't matter what fish, you could put a worldie in front of them. A lot of the time, it's that the damage has already been done.
Absolutely, it's just not a great process. So, yeah, I mean, COVID saw obviously the live auctions stop, and then the introduction of web auctions from the big three, really, Momotaro, Sakai, and Dainichi. Now, I can only, when we get onto my experience of this, I can only sort of relate to it from the Dainichi side, because as everybody knows, I have put my money where my mouth is with this in a big way over the past 2 years to learn about the fish, learn about the process and everything else. And yeah, so first year came along, obviously the size of the fish on offer, we're talking, at 15 cm, I know it's impossible. You're not checking the gender of them. Even just generally under 20 cm, but at 25 and then getting beyond that kind of size, I've always questioned it. Do the breeders really know what they're looking at? Have they got an accurate guide to what's happening at that point? and are they just selling unsexed to make their life easier?
Yeah.
So yeah, or is it because they're selling unsexed because they know they're male, but they still want people to hope that there's some chance of it being female, and then probably work to an average higher price across the board without that risk of the female guarantee.
Sure.
So yeah, first year I went in, every one of them was Unsexed Tosai. I bought ranging from, probably 18 up to 38, I think probably the biggest that eventually came in over the different batches. Grew them all on that season. Obviously had some cracking results, and this does tie into the fact that I want people to remember, male, female, me for the right lineage, I don't care. But I think it's something I've now seen that people do need to be aware of. So first year, I think out of about 40 or 50 fish that I bought, I got about 3 or 4 females.
Possibly. So these are all unsexed Tosai?
Yeah, possibly 5 at a push. And after that first year, I was left thinking, bad luck. It's just the sort of roll of the dice. That's the way it's gone. Could have been based on the fish I picked or whatever it was. And sort of, shoved it to one side because I was happy with the fish because we saw they were epic. The males were still huge because the quality's there, the genetics are there. Everything I've been telling people to do and how to look at fish was all there. So I wasn't unhappy, but obviously it makes a big difference because I've got more of an uphill battle to sell quality males
from a commercial perspective.
Than I have quality females. And what I also found interesting, this has been one I have seen as well, and this is nothing that a textbook can teach you, just first-hand experience. What did become female, I really struggled with the belly lines to the point where it was almost deformity, sort of body shortness. I even had that with a Tosai I had growing on at the farm in Japan. So, yeah, that really, I sort of took it on the chin, that one. Right, fair enough, but I'm happy with the fish. That's what's important. Let's crack on. And then grew them on for the second year through to Sansai. So come the next season, eager to learn more and happy with what we'd done the previous year, I went for it again. Slightly larger scale this time. So, I mean, we're talking, I think 120 something, might be even up to 150 pieces individually purchased from the auctions as unsexed through a variation of varieties this time. So we've got the Black Zeus, the normal Go Sankey stuff, and the Ginrin Karashi from the Yellow Monkey line. Grew them all on. Again, quite a high percentage of them. It's quite a high percentage of small on this side that we've still got some kicking around. And as it's got to the end of the season, sort of doing the final selection before the big push, when I could get an accurate read on the gender, I mean, my God, I'm pretty much in the same scenario, 90+% male fish. And what was female could only really be likened to cricket bats. The body was horrendous on them once again. Now that to me is a big data set at this point. 2 years, probably over around 200 fish purchased, serious sums invested, and on average, the vast majority being male.
See, the cynicism in me has always sort of been on the side of unsexed. There is a sort of an industry sort of wives' tale, unsexed means male. Sometimes it does, sometimes it means it's unsexed. We do it as well.
Yeah.
We don't physically don't have time to check the gender on all the fish. And a lot of the time, I'm not being funny, just from a commercial perspective, if I find out that fish that I'm selling for £100 is female, then obviously naturally it's going to adjust the price.
There's different scenarios. You say we do that because there's loads of different things there. The minute we commit to a gender, obviously we've got such things as trading standards in this country.
Yeah.
The whole thing becomes more complicated. So by just keeping it, obviously, like I said, there's a big time cost as well, checking them, fish dressing, all the rest of it. So we choose not to, but then, like I say, for that, we forgo the sort of tax we can add for something being female. Sure. Yeah. We just base it on fish quality and let people, especially when they're in the live auctions, we let people run with it and make their own kind of assessment. So, Yeah, that's it from that angle. That's a pure and genuine reason. I think the bit here is really is this a cover up for knowing that these fish are male, you know, but not obviously putting it because they know that's ultimately going to affect value. I can't say for sure either way because I don't know if they can genuinely tell. I should imagine with the level of experience they've got of seeing their own fish, their eyes can probably dictate where fish are going. I don't know if they're managing to do it any other way. I know some farms used to be incredibly good at sexing them at a young age to get that female guarantee because they want to reduce the risk. And I know others that do try it at kind of 25 cm-ish and yeah, try and get as good a guess as they can. But like I say, with no more than 70% accuracy. But I think it's just too damning, in my opinion, that with this amount of fish I'm talking about, to have... I genuinely can't actually remember how many, but I'm telling you now, if it's 10%, I would be amazed. Because in that, we're talking 20-odd fish. I can't recall 20-odd fish being female. And of the ones I can recall being female, all I can recall is that cricket bat body. So it leaves me in a situation, well, it's put me in a position where I won't buy them this year. I haven't done yet, and I don't intend to.
So generally speaking, the quality, putting sex aside, because it's something that, again, on an industry side of things, the overriding factor for us is the quality of the fish.
Yep.
But certainly from a consumer perspective, that male-female divide is a big... We see it. You know, if I can slap a female in front of a price tag,
yep,
from a business acumen point of view, it's a lot easier to sell.
If I sort of reframe it a little bit, so you're going koi shopping, you're looking at what's available.
Yep.
You see a Dainichi Tosai, or you know, from any farm, you see it there. It's expensive because it's from a big breeder. So say we're 25, 30 centimeters, it's $1,500. Seems a reasonable sort of figure to pull out. It's unsexed. I believe the thought process at that point is there's a 50-50 chance, male or female. And then you're looking at that on that basis. 50-50 chance it could go either way. Now, if you was looking at that and it said, or you knew differently and you thought it was a 90% chance it was going to be male, or it even stated on that picture, male, I believe most people who are buying them would stop. I do. Because we're often talking collectors who long term, they might grow it for a season, but then won't want to keep it in the pond.
Yeah.
They'll want to move it on and probably make a loss from where they started as well.
See, my stance on it, and obviously it comes from, again, not a hobbyist perspective, it's within the trade. So I take a slightly different slant on things, but whenever I look at a fish, I am always of the perspective that, am I happy with the price? Yes or no? Am I happy with the qualities of the fish? Yes or no? The sex, at that point, if I'm happy with the price and the quality, is not, if it turns out to be male, I'm still happy with the fish. If it turns out to be female, that's when it's a winner.
Well, that I think is the way people are going to have to look at it.
Yeah, that is how I do look at it.
But if you're looking at it on the basis of it's 50-50 and you're hoping the best it's going to be female, but in reality your chance is probably 90-10, that's where I think shit's becoming misleading. I just think it puts a whole different slant on it because you're pretty much almost guaranteeing it's male.
When you say misleading, I guess it's a bit subjective, isn't it? Because it's unsexed.
Yeah,
that's true. There's no sort of like if I could maybe they cannot guarantee sex at very small sizes. You can have a pretty good idea. Or is that the cynicism coming in?
I don't like to think that this is the real case, but for me now, as I after 2 years, I can't help but think they know a lot more than we think they do. I can't put that aside, and I just know the way most people think, taking stuff at face value, that if that was the reality is these fish are probably male. If that was sat on the gender that fish is male Tosai, it's $1,500. Most people aren't giving it a sniff. So
it's the dream still, isn't it?
Yeah.
or what if it turns out to be female? What if it gets up to 80, 85 cm?
It's all this sort of goodwill that's factored in up front, hoping, the goodwill they're hoping for that doesn't turn out to be legit. And that for me it's off-putting.
But then you fall into the next step up, which is Nisai, and you're talking a different realm in terms of price point. Exactly
the point.
But more guarantee.
Yeah. It's just there's all this risk, with a Tosai. I've said it with the Dainichi thing.
Yeah.
A lot goes wrong with them. You can be invested in a very valuable fish. Even that, we're talking about £1,500 Tosai. It's not what I'd recommend people to be doing. I've said it before. In that scenario, I'd be going for 500 quid fish at the very least, and sort of spreading your risk about a little bit more. But yeah, I just like people to know what's true and what's real. And this, to me, is it, to the point where now I'm looking at these kind of farms and thinking the only way I've got a genuine shot, 50-50 shot, male or female, is if I buy them small enough. If you're enjoying the Koi Talk podcast and Koi Talk magazine, you can also join us every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. live on YouTube and Facebook. This is for our new Koi Talk Live show, where we're joined by a mixture of people from our guest panel each week. Those include myself, Chris Wall, Joe Mitchell from the Koi Wholesale team, Yivo, the Koi partner, Lee Hadfield, the Koi soldier, Anthony Day, aka Crafty Koi, and not forgetting the one and only Alan Tate. So be there, be sure not to miss out, every Thursday, 7 p.m. That's it, I'm talking 12, 15, 18 cm in them brackets, where I know it is impossible.
But then it's getting access to those fish, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
few and far between.
That's not
I
easy.
know this year Sakai and Dainichi came off, but that's not year in, year out, is it?
No. But to me, that's the only way I think it can be done. And that happened again with the Issa Showers. The first year I did them and had the bigger size stuff come in, there was a huge percentage that were male. There's too much now. And don't get me wrong, I get your point, it's being sold as unsexed. So you do have to accept that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if you're out there thinking there's a 50-50 chance, I don't believe it's a 50-50 chance. That's it. The rest of it, focus on the quality. So if you're happy that's
if sex isn't the overriding.
That's it. I would, and that's probably a point to now reiterate on. You should be focusing on the quality, what's in front of you, all the technical aspects, and be happy then that what you buy in, you're happy if it goes either way.
I don't think in terms of obviously you're not going to get 10 out of 10 with every selection. That is the nature of Koi. If every fish were a winner, you'd probably be retired by now, sort of thing. That's the reality of it. There is jeopardy involved with selecting small fish. Obviously, you just hedge your bets on the knowledge and base that knowledge on selections and moving forward. And obviously, hope that if you break it down just to being like a farmer, you hope that your crop is good when the time comes to selecting them.
And valuable.
I don't think you can deny the genetics of these bigger farms. I mean, there is a common denominator, isn't there, when you release that sort of capability. They are built differently, but obviously chasing those bigger names, I've done it myself. I remember you laughing your head off at me at Dainichi. And then we wandered over to Nagami and you bought fish half the price, twice the quality.
Yeah.
So, it is possible to unleash that potential of these big farms and these genetics. But what's your sort of underlying, is it proceed with caution? Is that what you're...
Yeah, I think what it comes to is people are looking at the Tosai unsexed from this farm, so there's all this risk stacked against it. They're still not cheap fish. I mean, the values we're talking about are mighty expensive in the general market. And so this is where it comes back to everything you've just said, and I constantly keep banging the drum about, is work within the sort of constraints of the budget that you've got. So if that is, we're just going to stick with that number, a £1,500 Tosai you're looking at, you're at that point. You know, can you actually buy a Nisai at another farm
Yeah,
for
sure.
the same price and get, you know, more safety, an accurate gender as well, and know exactly where you're at? I would argue that you can. You know, I've seen good, and that whether that's male or female, you're going to know either way at that point. And the issue is, you know, buying the quality level that you would really want and doing it at Dainichi. So buying Nisai, so you've got the most safety, the most accuracy, buying the quality level you would want in the end, that becomes a very, very expensive task. That's not just there. That's the same at Sakai. That's the same at Momotaro. Same at a lot of big breeders, Marido, anybody like that. So what that leaves, I believe, hobbyists in a position where they're then looking to, or what they've got to do, is compromise. And what's the compromise? I buy Tosai, which is then basically more risk. I buy Unsexed, which is then basically more risk. Because when the Tosai were guaranteed female, the prices were mental, really mental. So would you say now they've possibly dropped a bit? On average, they probably have dropped a little bit.
But across the board.
Across the board for them, they're probably higher than they were if they said they were all just male, as Nisai or something like that. But yeah, it's just all these compromises, and the compromise is always adding more risk into the equation to do it at these big farms. That's why I stress, you know, is there an alternative? And there often is. Rather than chasing the brand, is there an alternative out there? Now, I get it, some people want those fish because, the genetics are pretty unique, but it is an expensive route to go down, and I believe you get to a point where you make too many compromises, you're going to be left in a situation where I don't think you're going to be happy with the end result, or you're going to be out of pocket when that Tosai decides to, you know, all the penny drops off. Because these ones I were buying, you know, a lot of ones that were expensive have had failures. And these would have been serious failures for a hobbyist at this point, with that one fish.
The star thing is, I've had quite a few customers say, I bought this 4 stars.
Yeah.
And some of our better results have been the lower. If you were going on that grade, you know, it's a bit like the whole A+, A grades. I don't buy into that.
Some do. I think possibly that's been dominated by the Asian market, the sort of stars thing and a guide. But certainly, if you're looking at those rating systems, ignore the. Yeah. You've got to, because it's just you've got to trust your own instincts and know what you're looking at, and that's where, again, being savvy with your buying. Yeah, I've picked up some of the bargains I picked up because there was more risk, but for me it was calculated risk, and it's come good. You know, whereas ones I've spent a lot of money on went to nothing. You know, so it's consumer awareness is the big one for this. I think if you go into something with your eyes wide open, you can't be unhappy with the end result regardless. When you're going into it blind, I think it's just going to leave a lot of people pissed off. And I'm not even sure the dealers sort of who are buying more and more of these Tosai are fully aware of this either.
Well, I was going to, that kind of draws us on to the next point. Obviously, that knowledge, obviously, I'm guessing from what you're saying, you don't feel it's being filtered down into the market.
No, because again, there would have to be this level of, you know, if you've just bought 10 one year, and you've sold most of them, you've got a couple left, that's not really, you're never going to get the data back from that. You know, I've had these there. It's been a big data pool to draw from, and that's the sort of conclusion that we've got. So I believe it's accurate, and I don't think it's going to change. I think that's reality of actually how it is. But like I say, people just need to go, if your eyes wide open and it all stacks up and you're happy with it, great.
Crack on,
you know, and you should, above and beyond all else, follow what we've been saying and put fish and quality first before everything else.
But it's the whole male-female thing again. How many times do you see people buying inferior fish because they're female?
Too many still.
Yeah,
far too many.
I think we've opened up quite a lot of eyes, and we've probably polarized ourselves in certain stances, because some of the more old school guys are very much of the opinion that male fish don't have a place in the market. Obviously, speaking to people on the show scene. There's a bit of a disconnect between us and the show scene. I think we've always sort of said we don't fully understand what the overriding factors are to win
Agreed.
perceived major awards. But you're seeing males edging into these sizes now.
Yeah. You're on about in the UK or in Japan?
For Japan, it's been happening. But
Japan, it's
UK,
becoming, like I say, we're missing the boat over here because it's actively happening out there. And again, the price of male fish, certainly at these bigger farms, is increasing every year. And I stand by, I think within the next 10 years, you'll see male fish cross over into the female division.
There was a chat with Alan, brought to light Danichi, funny enough, a Showa male, that's walked through the sizes, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, that's incredible fish.
Yeah, and we've featured it before, but I love to see that that's a fish that, it's not a one-trick pony.
Yeah. But when you saw it side by side, the mature champion, which was female, there is zero difference in body or anything. Yeah. If it hadn't have been for over here, I don't think you'd have got away with just benching it as female. Yeah. For sure. It's just over there. They're very serious with it and they want that classes, separation. But yeah, for sure, it could have won it. Hands down. That's why I see it happening. There's more and more. The values are going up. As the value goes up, breeders put more time and effort into them, and away we go. So, ultimately, they'll become a levelling up stage at some point. Who knows? Who knows where it'll end up?
I think raising techniques as well. Obviously, exposing male fish and giving them the opportunity. Yeah,
because that's probably part of what's been holding them back. Obviously, the lineages, are getting better and better, but they need... Females have always been given the best raising and the best raising that's suited to them. Yeah,
because they
Males
don't. They command
They've just
got
disregarded. I've proved it over here. When you give them the attention and the raising, they wouldn't dream of putting a male fish into a female only pond. No. So it's not been often done where they've just gone, right, that pond's just the males I'm raising. Yeah. But there's more and more. Taniguchi's been at it for a while, doing a phenomenal job. And we see it, at the Wakagoi show, a male fish can win grand champion there every day because we're talking up to 63 cm, which is the size of Nisai / Sansai at these big operators. Yeah. So at that point, you're telling no difference. And often the male fish will probably look better than the female at that point.
Pigment's a little bit more intense.
And that's the second biggest koi show in Japan, where it's even more, it's already a level playing field. That's why I believe it will all level up at some point. It's just sort of filtering upwards, and as more and more attention is paid, it probably will become that. And again, why I would stress anybody new, I get we say this about people not paying attention to it enough, but existing koi keepers, I get it. If you've got an established collection of female fish, you don't want the risk of having a randy male in there going nuts on them. But if you're kind of just building your collection or you're heavily changing over a lot, going for that approach where you're kind of gender neutral and not going either way, you're going to build a far better collection, or even going male only. I would love to see the day where people are walking into dealers and going, right, what male fish have you got?
This is where, this little snippet here is where you can contextualise what we're saying, because this is the type of stuff that gets screenshotted and gets passed around social media. So having some context to it all is important. Yeah,
I just think it's coming. More and more awareness. That's what a lot of this is awareness. That the whole thing, there's not a lot of awareness about much stuff, and that's where people are kind of left in the dark. Like I say, coming back to the original point, this I believe is sort of firmly where this is at. And I just hope from this, their consumers do have more awareness and can go into it eyes wide open, as opposed to being in the dark.
Fair enough. It's a topic that probably is going to prick quite a few ears.
I should imagine it's going to rumble on a little bit longer.
Yeah, so obviously in terms of the auctions, they're quite attainable, aren't they? I mean, ultimately, if you're a dealer, you can float hundreds of fish, dangle hundreds of fish in front of a customer.
Yeah.
And then turn the fish quite quickly, and then, away you go. But obviously from a consumer perspective, I guess it's a case of, proceed with caution, and perhaps that Tosai dream is not quite as it seems if you're going into it thinking you've got a 50-50 chance. Is that pretty much it in a nutshell?
Yeah, and like I say, I hope just from today that there's that awareness there off the back of my expensive learning curve. And that I believe this is data that can't argue with. There'll be people possibly jump up saying that's an absolute load of bollocks. Well, when you've done this on the scale I have, feel free to come to this table and join in the argument. But I don't think there's many people sitting in that hot seat, mate, to be honest.
No, there's not many people quite as insane as you, mate.
No, there we go.
Fascinating topic, mate. And one that I know we've probably got fairly strong opinions on in that sense. So hopefully for those of you out there that are in the market considering purchases this year, it's giving you a bit of information to guide you. I mean, we're certainly not telling anyone what to do. This is just opinion based on experience.
It's awareness.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Hopefully next time we speak to you, Arsenal will be firmly secured at the top of the league.
Dream on, mate.
So, for now, that's goodbye.
Come on, City. Coming from a United fan. Brilliant.
You're an embarrassment, mate.
Yeah, fair play.
You'd never hear me saying, come on, Spurs. Let's put it that way. But, it's good to get back in the studio, mate. I know we both enjoy getting stuff off of our chest and, chatting like this. So, hopefully everyone in the world of Koi enjoys it, or at least it promotes a bit of discussion. Yeah. So, for now, it's cheerio, and, we'll catch up with you on the next one.